Hey guys, good morning, soul familia, la familia de spiritual. Hope everyone is doing well. My name is Jason, and you're watching Ray of Light Tarot. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy the content here. For the most part, what I do is I read tarot. I'm a tarot reader, an intuitive empath, and I sort of read and interpret energy and help people connect to their higher selves and to spiritual truths. I offer private readings. Good morning, Christina. Nice to see you. I was doing my morning meditations. I've really been getting back on track as far as my morning rituals and doing the things that are required of me to be help become and to be able to be my best self as opposed to my worst self. And so as I do more of that, more truth comes through, and sometimes I start to get messages that I feel I need to share with my audience. And hey, all natural Rebecca, good morning. Nice to see you guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Michael Maz, nice to see you. Happy Tuesday morning. You're welcome. And I'm sorry I don't do this more often, guys. I really got in the habit of doing this last summer when I was kind of really on a sort of a nice ascension roll, and I had some setbacks in the late fall and winter, some real setbacks spiritually, and so I have to kind of I try to not to push too hard against the grain, and just go. I've learned to kind of go with the flow, but definitely been intuitive recently. I can't be on too long, guys. I do have a lot of work. I've got some personal readings I've got to get caught up on, but I do want to share some things that came through in my meditation this morning. I wasn't even really looking for these things, but it really came through strong. So I want to talk to you guys about it. Hey, Valerie, nice to see you. Um, on my morning walk with Bentley, found another feather. Yesterday, I found two feathers. Well, they came out of a pillow, so I wouldn't say I really found them. But I was over next door, the beach cottage next door, visiting with family that's in town, and there were two feathers on the ground in front of me. So I counted that as a sign. And then today, found another one. So definitely a sign. When you find feathers, it's sort of a symbol that I believe that your angels are around you, and you've got, usually it's not just that. I mean, it can be just sort of a message of comfort, but it can also be a message that they're trying to communicate something with you. So I think that's very beautiful. Anyway, for those of you who are interested, we're coming out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. And I really get the sense as we come into the age of Aquarius, or what came through this morning in meditation, is a big sort of piece to the puzzle as we're coming into this age of Aquarius. And we're here. We're this year. This is it. Aquarius, the star card, tarot is the thing that I connected to, right? When I really started to spiritually awaken big time because of a soul connection in my life that was very special to me. And I started to spiritually awaken and sort of get reconnected to who I was as a person and to what I really, the things that I valued in life and held dear that were more important than really the physical, the creature comforts that we cling to as human beings, but the things that sort of go beyond that. That's what my awakening was about. It was about value and realizing what do I really value in life? What really makes me tick as a person? What makes me want to get out of bed in the morning? And it has nothing to do with, the physical things. It's more about the spiritual, right? But so tarot was the thing that I connected to that gave me answers. And oh, nice, Amy. I like that. Goosebumps are good. The star card in tarot is the card of Aquarius, right? So what is Aquarius? What is the sign of Aquarius, and what is Aquarius doing in this card? Water bearer, right? Aquarius is the water bearer. And Aquarius, in this card, the woman here is pouring out water into the earth and into more water. So when you think, as a tarot reader, when you think of the element of water, it's flowing, right? And water represents emotions and the flow of emotions and truth, yeah, clarity, but also really the flow of emotions. So you think of that heart space and the ability for emotions to flow through you. So what are we doing here? We're coming into the age of Aquarius, from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And what's happening here is we're coming into an ability to flow. That Christ consciousness is opening up that ability that the age of Pisces really is about, is Christ consciousness here, especially at this time, at the end here. And we're coming into this ability to let things flow. That's why I believe, that's why a lot of people are making such strong spiritual connections. You hear so much about the twin soul phenomenon that's going on right now. And it's because of a recognition and a realization of the flow of your heart space, of that emotion taking over the things that we as human beings and so much of our civilization has placed importance on. There's something that's happening within us. Our souls are seeking greater meaning. And certainly throughout history, our souls have always sought greater meaning, right? The soul within us always has sought greater, deeper meaning. But right now what's happening is we're coming into this age of Aquarius with reckless abandon. We're coming into it at a speed and at a rate where what's happening is so much bigger than it's ever been, because our souls are being awakened. Our spirits are being awakened and sort of illuminated. Hey, Brian, nice to see you. Illuminated to what's really important. And what's really important is the flow, the flow. And it's not about being emotional, right? It's not about, oh, let me become more emotional. Well, no, but it is about being attuned to your feelings, being attuned to your emotions. And we so much, I notice people are reacting so differently. A lot of people are clinging to political, people who are really into the Democrat, Republican, presidential, like some people cling to politics, to their anger, to their anger, whether it be as a liberal or a Democrat about wanting, maybe more social protections in place, or as a Republican and a conservative, maybe they want to be more in charge of their own lives, but also tell other people how to live. That seems to be a common message on that side. I don't want anyone telling me how to live, but boy, I want to put my beliefs on you. Whatever way people find to deal with what's happening right now, the point isn't about how you're dealing with it. The point to me is to look at what's really happening. Look at what's really happening right now. Good morning, Joni. What's really happening right now is we're entering into, whoops, I dropped my card. We're entering into, sorry, I try to do these messages sort of a teaching thing. We're entering into the age of Aquarius because I'm a teacher. I am a healer, but I'm also a teacher. When I do my readings, I give you, for people who have gotten personal readings from me, I do my personal readings just like I do my generals. I try to teach as I do it. I try to explain to you not just the message that I'm getting, but why, what the card says to me, and how I'm getting to that. I try to tell you why I'm getting that message. So, and I know I'm meant to do that because when I meditate, that's how my guides communicate to me. They teach me. So I know that I'm supposed to do it that way as well. So, okay, you've got the age of Aquarius we're coming upon. The star card is the card of Aquarius, the water bearer. The biggest thing, though, the message that I got, what we're really awakening to, it's not just a spiritual awakening and an ascension, it's all of those things. But what's really happening, one of the principal things and one of the foundations of what's occurring for us as we awaken, individually, as I awaken, as you awaken, and collectively, because everyone's awakening. Now, what my grandmother, who I live with, my grandmother at her age, what she goes through, it's going to be different than what I go through. We're from different generations. We're 2 generations apart, and our experience is different. So same with all of you. And so have patience with the people around you. You're not meant to experience things the same way, or be experiencing your awakening and your ascension the same way. However, ultimately, as a collective, the point to me is a great big deal about the transition from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius is the dissolution of fear. Now, fear can serve you in certain circumstances. Fear can be of service to us, especially as human beings. Fear, like primal fear, it exists for a reason, right? It exists to sort of, it's like an alarm, an internal alarm to protect things, right? However, right, fight or flight, exactly, Brian, fight or flight. That's in a nutshell. The thing about fear, though, is, guys, human fear is non-existent in this sort of the spiritual realm. So what we need to understand is we are moving out of fear. We're moving from a place of fear. And what trumps fear in every case? Love. And so think about the things as a human being or any other animal, right? Created physical being on this planet. What is fear? why does fear come in? To protect you from what? Violence, hatred. So if there was no need, if love was the ruler, the water, the flowing of love, of emotion, there would be no need for fear because there wouldn't be violence. There wouldn't be predatory humans. There wouldn't be serial killers and stalkers and violence, predatory people, and people always seeking to hurt back, to lash back. You hurt me, so I'm going to lash back at you. That's a human construct. That's not a soul construct. So what happens is, as we move into, here's holding the kidneys, drinking water helps. Sally, that's awesome. It is awesome. So as we move into the age of Aquarius, a big, to me, what I'm getting is a big piece of this, a big piece, is the passing away of fear. Not just because we're not going to, like fear isn't a thing, but because fear, although it has its uses, when you really understand where it comes from, it's the very thing that exists. The only need for fear exists in the absence of love. And Aquarius is here to talk about bearing the water. Stripped, this woman's nude for a reason, and it's not sexual, and it's not because she's too cold, too hot, and it's too hot outside, and her clothes would make her, too sweaty. It's because the nudity represents being open, being completely exposed. Fear doesn't allow us to. Fear is why we wear clothing, guys. And look, get away from the obvious things in society and modern common decency. I'm talking about when you think of like Adam and Eve and the need to clothe themselves. Yeah, it comes from the knowledge of being naked, but the reason you're clothing yourself isn't because you're cold necessarily, and it's because of the fear of feeling exposed. This age of Aquarius we're entering into is all about not necessarily, being okay with being exposed because you're exposed. It's about being okay because there's no fear. It's all love. And the more we grow in love, that's why twin souls are coming into each other's awareness. That's why we're having divine counterparts coming in. That's why families have broken down in order to build back up. People talk about the decline of the family. Well, it's declining because it's not because families aren't important, but it's because we're actually all a family, That's what's important. We're all family, guys. The construct of family is breaking down because it's changing. Our understanding has to change. We are all, as human beings, family, and we've got to stop hurting and hating each other and lashing out. There's so much anger and hatred and vitriol. Look at the state of our politics right now. Donald Trump, our president, I'm not saying, I don't particularly like him, but I just want someone to stand up and be mature. And we were talking about politics last night. Nancy Pelosi, after the State of the Union address, she's one of the leaders of the Democrats, and she ripped up his speech, which may or may not have been illegal. I don't care. I said, but wouldn't it be nice if someone would just be the mature adult at the table? Now the Republicans want her to get in trouble for tearing up his speech because it's a document that belongs in the library, whatever. It's like, could somebody, maybe even Trump, heaven forbid that he ever be mature, could someone just stand up and go, okay, enough. She doesn't need to be charged for ripping up my speech. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. He'll never say that. Right. But can you guys get it? It's not what I'm saying here. The message is the reason this is happening, I believe, and I'm getting a strong sensation, it's like it's like a bubble that has to burst, kind of the way the financial bubble, well, the real estate financial bubble burst a little while back, about 10 years ago. For things to reset naturally, the bubble kind of has to burst. So we're coming into the age of Aquarius. We're moving from fear, and the only way we're going to move from fear and into love is as we promote that within ourselves. So what you want to do is, and what I'm trying to do right now with myself, is recognize the ways that I'm seeking, what I'm looking for and what I'm seeking, and where fear is sort of becoming that thing that's pressing me down, because sometimes it gets harder before it gets easier. Yes, all of these systems are definitely crumbling, but it's for a purpose. And some people are trying to push the crumbling of those systems. That's not good either. That's a fear-based action too. Anytime you're trying to force something, it's not good, guys. That thing I've learned the most, that I have learned has been so true, is to just flow with where you're being called and led to go. Life works so much better when you can flow. That's so much easier. I think it's it's sort of where the flesh and the spirit are at. We talk a lot about where the flesh and the spirit are at odds. That's one of those places where our flesh and our spirit is always at odds because as human beings in physical form, it's almost like it's in our nature to fight, not just to fight each other, but to fight the easy. Sometimes we're taught that it's better to go the hard way. No, not always, and especially if you're having to push for something or push to make something work or push to do something. Hard work is not bad, but pushing against the flow of the universe is never a good idea, and it's not going to go very well when you do that. So a lot of that desire to push comes from fear is what I'm learning. It's fear that sort of pushes, that makes us want to do that. So just be aware of that, guys. Be aware that as we're moving toward this age of, God, what is Sally talking about? I missed that. Everybody's talking about something Sally said. What is Sally talking about? I'm missing it. I'm going to let Sally teach us for a minute because obviously she said something good. What are you teaching us, Sally? I missed it. I love you too. What did Sally say? Witchcraft. She's not teaching us witchcraft unless she's teaching. Yeah, well, that is kind of witchcraft. Joni and I were talking about this the other day. Starve the ego, feed the soul. Too cute. To be like a blade of grass in the wind. Yeah, that's true. It is like being like a blade of grass in the wind. It's not easy though to do that. It is easy, but it takes practice. Those who run government live unrealistic lives. They have no clue of the truth. Well, you know, a lot of money and a lot of power can change someone's perspective. So a lot of us have very different perspectives than like the top 0.1 of 1%. But ultimately, we're definitely moving from fear. This is a big, and it's not, you can talk in catchphrases or in fancy words about letting go of fear and choosing love. But we literally are, guys. I feel like what's happening in the shift from age to age is we are moving from a time where, no, fear, like we've talked about, can be very useful, but it's not so much the fear the necessary fear that's moving out, but what's moving out is the sort of the offshoots of fear, revenge, anger, violence. It's those little offshoots that start with fear, right? And as those little offshoots that sort of sprout up from fear are getting chopped down one by one, we're able to move more and more into that age of Aquarius and sort of embrace the energy of the age of Aquarius, which is about the bearing of the water. So if Aquarius is the water bearer and we're moving into the age of Aquarius, the water bearing, the flowing of things, it's all about getting in that flow. Okay. And oh my God. Yeah, Jones, so much power in transmuting fear to love. And that's where it's happening. We are literally moving out of that fear. And as you release that, you're going to feel so empowered, guys. What really is there to fear? Really? And I mean, Franklin Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, you know, that's one of his famous quotes. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. It's such an interesting quote and it's so true because fear is the root of a lot of not so good things that happen. But, and the opposite is love. It's not, the opposite of fear isn't bravery, it's love. So it's a really interesting spectrum if you think of it on those terms. So I really like the idea, and I don't know what it is really about the age of Aquarius but I mean, it's basically as simple as what we've already said. There's not really a lot of depth to what I have to say. It's just that simple. We're moving into this age where fear is being released. So as you keep growing and as your ascension happens, that's just understand that's why it's happening. That's what people are seeking, and why you're seeing so many people you're making these spiritual connections with that maybe you haven't really made before. I mean, we've all had love in our life and good things, and we are innately called to that. But the reason it's becoming so powerful at this time and this place and this moment in history. It's a real thing. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, and it's going to be strong. It's going to be powerful, and it's going to be exciting. So that was sort of the message I got. And I just love how the star card really shows you in a very tangible way what we're moving into. Just look at the card, guys. This is what we're moving into. This is the time we're moving into right here, right? So whatever this means to you, I think you can really, you can pull a lot from looking at this card and understanding that transition. It's really, it is about moving from fear into love, and what love really is, not what we think of as love in either the filial romantic sense, agape sense, any of the different. How many definitions? How many terms for love did the Greeks have? Was it four or five? There's, the different classifications, very different things, right? Love, agape love, is not the same thing as filial love, or etc. So this is about love in broad terms, and moving from fear in broad terms to love in equally broad stroke terms. So it's a really exciting time. It's a really beautiful time. Keep doing your meditations. Start doing them if you haven't been. I got off course doing mine. I'm really trying to get back in the habit of it. It's a good thing to do on a daily basis to really center yourself, and it allows you to, be more productive and to see things more clearly, right? To make that mind, body, spirit connection. Exactly, Sally. We can't. See, God is, when people talk about God's love is God. Love is God. It's not God's love. God is love. So source, that's God. We come from love and we return to love. That's the creation. That's the creation foundation of creation. That's what the creation is. It's love. So it's a really beautiful thing. Anyway, guys, I hope that this was enlightening moment. I just wanted to share that. It's nice to for me, like I said, to kind of look at the tarot and how it connects you to the astrology and sort of the deeper issues is what's going on in time. So that's the star card is the major arcana card that is the card of Aquarius, and there's I pull a lot of meaning from this card in regard to what's going on with us moving into the age of Aquarius. And a lot of those things, yeah, it's true, Sally, but see, we can say those things and it sounds so good, but you have to really, it's easy to say it, a lot harder to apply it, and even harder to apply it on a regular basis without getting thrown off. But that's it's going to be difficult for a time, but then it's going to get easier, and it's going to come to a point where as human beings, that is the natural state. That's what the ascension process is about, the natural state. As a human being, not the soul separate from the human body, but it's going to become a natural state to be in that age the way we are meant to be. So it's really exciting to kind of ground and anchor that light and see how the age of Aquarius, how are we welcoming it in on an individual level? What are you doing within your daily life as an individual, as a light worker? What are you doing as a human being to welcome in the age of Aquarius? And what are we doing as a collective, with all of our different moving parts? What are we doing to welcome it in? And how are we moving from fear and into love in our lives? So it's really cool, and I hope you guys will think about that. I wish you guys a good, happy rest of your week. I'm going to be on doing, I've got some general readings I've got to upload. I'm going to be doing mini readings a little later tonight, continuing from the ones that I was doing Sunday. I kind of had to break it off a little early because I hurt my ankle. And it's much better. And yeah, so that's what's going on. I've got to be working on some personal readings today. Everything's the same. I haven't announced any specials. If you want to get on the list for the minis, you can do that. The Cash App is where you send that. But otherwise, you guys have a great day. If anything, be kind. You never know what somebody else is going through. Have a good one, guys.